Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Blob Watch. And I have returned from the shadow realm of being banned by dear Susan Wojcicki, Wobberjack, something like that. What she calls herself. So I've returned and as I said, as I referenced, my channel has been given one community strike. I got a warning, then I got a community strike straight away. So a couple of the streams that I've done back in sort of January time have been removed, and I've been punished for that. I think maybe someone might have reported my channel. I don't know. I did quite a high-profile interview during a sort of relatively topical, which was going in the news at the time, like in social media news, I should say. So, my channel's been it's been targeted by the powers that be, and so I'm gonna have to two-faced. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune it down a bit for at the moment. So we're going to
start talking about critical race theory.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of normie and sort of milquetoast subjects, and we'll continue talking about what we want to talk about. I think ultimately, Cringewalker was the problem, because in one of the streams, while he was coming back from work, some African American chap shouted the N-word next to him, which I think is probably why that stream was taken down. And I was given community strike order because
the man is on a live stream while sat on a New York subway.
Yeah, somewhere I know. So, so Cringewalker is now banned from the channel. No, I'm joking. He can come back on, but he trouble is during that stream he then started talking about the J words and so
Jesuits.
It was the J words.
The Jesuits.
Yes, those guys.
Yeah, the Jesuits. Yeah, the Jesuits.
Instrumental in bringing Christianity to Japan, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a good film about that actually. With they promote it with Liam Neeson, but you don't see him right to the end. But thank you, Royal First. It's great to be back. It's great to be back doing this. One other thing I would also say while we're at it, next week there's going to be quite a big election special Blob Watch, which is going to be having Harry and Joz is going to be with this. It's going to be running from about 10 o'clock in the evening to probably 4 or 5 in the morning, depending on how we do. We're going to have quite a few guests on over the sort of stream. People will be hopping in and out, and we're going to be having guests, like I said, Jaws, Harrion, Tailed Feature. We Got a Problem is also going to be coming on. He's going to be popping in, and hopefully and Mitch as well, and hopefully Carl, Benjamin, and Callum from Lotus Eaters. So we've got.
I see how it is.
What do you mean?
It's going up in the world as our Mr. Shiratori.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've had. The fourth episode of the Blob Watch. I think Carl was on with me and Harry, and so
it's because he's almost an MP, Josh.
massive flex from AI here.
Yeah, massive flex.
He's just sitting in the corner dabbing on us from a distance.
Yes, and then the following week we're going to get. Unironically, right? This is the thing. When I saw Trump was offering to go on interview podcasts, I've been trying like my hardest to find out that email, because I swear to God, I'm going to get Trump on this Blob Watch podcast one day.
He's going to be on here 5 viewers.
And if he's on here, we know what we're going to have to ask him.
Do the aliens exist?
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what we're going to have to ask the first question.
I just want to have an hour with an ex-US president and see if the aliens exist.
Well, I'm going to say, listen, the establishment fucked you over, and they're a bunch of bastards. Just tell us. I mean, I'm not. It's not going to ruin my evening if you tell me that aliens exist, because it wouldn't ruin it. People would be shocked, but we get over it. I mean, I get shocked every time I turn on BBC News, I get shocked. Every time I look at what the license fees going towards, I get shocked. So, yeah, you know
aliens exist. A couple dozen turn up on Devon Beach every day.
Have you been to Blackpool recently?
God, yeah, I know, and they're going to go into summer, and we're going to have even more. What's BBC News? Good point. Yeah, what is BBC News? I think it's the
thing my parents play loudly from the living room.
Yeah, I got a joke for that, but if I say it, I might get another community strike, so I'm not going to say it.
He's not going to be spicy anymore. This is an end of an era.
It really is the end of an era.
He's been whipped onto the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I tell you what. When I finally decide, once I get a big enough audience, I can move everyone to another platform where I could be as spicy as I will, as I want. Last YouTube Blob Watch, I promise I'll go full on suicidal based content, not giving any fucks.
The power levels are successfully hidden. It's fine.
He's going to answer the ALQ.
Yeah. Moving on. I don't get it. Louis Leval. He can was it Louis Levi? He literally says the N-word on his stream. Oh, we got someone else that's joined us. Based and Prod Pilled. Who's that?
Yeah, because you put the link to the fucking stream into the server earlier, like the StreamYard link, not the not the YouTube link, you moron.
I know. Well, I thought that was the Wellington group, so I was like, it was our community.
Such a boomer.
Who is this? Let's just find out who this is first. Hello, Mitch.
That avatar, man.
Come out, you Fenians, come and fight me like your dad.
Right, okay. I'm sorry. I promised I'd turn over a new leaf. Oh, listen, Mitch. Okay. Mitch, I'll allow you to rejoin, but can you please not do any Catholic bashing on my channel? I've literally got some four-eyed fucking nerd that's reviewing my content at the moment. So can we just please keep it on the download? I
didn't bash them. I challenged them.
Yeah,
I challenged them to a good bashing.
Yeah, challenged them to good bashing. Oh, hello, Mitch. How you doing?
Hello. See, I thought you were inviting us all, essentially.
Yeah, you all are invited, but then Joz said that I put it on the. I then realised that it wasn't just our community, and I thought to have some complete randos joining. I wouldn't mind, to be honest. But
what's ironic? I'm not even a Protestant.
No. I know
right. Ban him.
Ban.
I'm not a Catholic either, so.
That's
yeah.
It's okay.
I mean, the trouble is with that, Mitch, is you wouldn't be allowed to even join any UVA or Black and Tan group because of that.
What about a UVB?
Yeah, but I'm a unionist. Isn't that what counts?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Look, if I put on the balaclava, are they going to know that I'm not one of them?
You pull about. Oh yeah. Oh god. I do like how Northern Ireland is basically now masks and balaclava. They've sort of returned to tradition during the COVID
Have you seen the meme? I've posted this meme on the server, in the Powell's server. It's quite funny. He crosses out free Derry and says London, welcome to London Derry.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, right, no talk of all Northern Irish politics. And we got I got a couple of Catholic viewers here, so they're going to get triggered. Lord Megatron's going to get triggered about if we keep on going on down this.
Do you want to give me a wrench so I can ban them?
No, we're not back. No, this is a free speech channel. We're not going to be banning people.
Yeah,
We
well,
have to
you see, Lord Megatron, aka Makuta Pterodax, was being far too flirty with me today.
Oh dear.
He's a bad Catholic boy.
He's flirting with Mitch and praying the
Come
rosary
and
in
see
the
his
chat.
rosary.
Okay. All right. No bullying. No bullying the chat. I've literally the last stream I did before we got banned. The chat would go like it was me and Rob, and the chat was just going mental. And
I
ended up-
remember that.
Yeah, do you
I was,
remember?
having,
And
I was having a great time in the chat. It was so much fun.
I think
know-
I was in the chat.
Yeah, you
I think
guys were-
I think I was mainly egging them on.
Yeah, you're egging them on, and I mean that's another reason because I remember I used the R word quite a few times. So, yeah. Anyway, so first news. What's up with France?
They're being French. There's no news with
Same
regards
as
to France.
always.
French is
I mean-
always.
I mean, do you have that that was it a Telegram message where they laid out their letter?
It's a letter, not Telegram. We're not in the
No,
1920s.
no. I mean the app Telegram, you boomer.
Yeah,
For God's sakes!
yeah. There is. I'll bring it up. I need to.
No,
just
because
get-
I think it was in a Telegram group. It was. I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, I think. I think the initial. I think it was. Yeah, because this was the thing. It was put in the Telegram like 2 weeks ago or something, and then it was published only recently, or something like that. So.
I want to see because I'm looking quickly to see if I can find it, so we can just go through it if you want. But I'm struggling to find the actual. Or is it Euronews? Because BBC does it.
It's an open letter. I did see the. I mean, I've got like
They've sacked all the serving generals that backed it now, haven't they? The purge has begun.
Well, I mean, they knew what they were doing when they decided to sign that. They knew they were meant to be.
I'm scrolling through Euronews website, and I just saw one of my close friends from school reporting on it. I'm going to close that. French Defense Minister.
Name and shame. Name and shame.
No. I don't know if I can't find the actual letter. It's just all these news articles talking about kind of in their words what it says. Let me see if I can find the actual letter.
I mean, I've got pieces of it here, like screen images of it.
They were doing some polling today, and they found that the majority of French people agree with it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go into.
And Le Pen sided with them, right?
Yeah, basically.
Well,
Well, she's going to have to.
She's courting them, not siding with them.
Yeah, yeah.
What does she say?
Is she going to be the next Joan of Arc?
All right.
Well, she's gonna love what comes next. Then,
just so you know, it was the French that burned her, not the English.
That's true, actually. Yes.
Well, they love getting rid of their leaders in creative ways.
And then deifying them later. Oh no, that was the Catholic Church who did that, not the French.
Yes. I can't find the actual text of the letter. This is annoying.
No, I can't. I think it's been removed. To be honest, I think it's been removed.
I mean, it's not that. As.
Okay. Oh, I found it. It here.
But do you want to share it? We can.
I found it. Yeah. Right. So this was translated by I think some American publisher in France.
Yes, I've been meaning to try and find a French speaker to translate it.
Yeah, this has been translated. So yeah, basically the story is 20 retired military generals and 80 officers and 1,000 low-ranking soldiers signed an open letter expressing
I didn't realize it was that many soldiers. Jesus.
Yeah, I knew that there were officers. I didn't know it was 80. I thought there was like about 10 or something. But,
no, because I heard it was 20 retired generals, like 80 odd officers, or 80 odd serving people. I didn't realize there was 1,000 squaddies. I'm assuming they mean squaddies when they say.
Yeah, lower ranking soldiers. I mean, that could be like sergeant corporals, I guess. The equivalent of whatever France has.
I don't know much about the French military at all, if I'm honest. Other than they have white flags, lol.
Yeah, keep a small white flag in their back.
Yeah.
Tactical white flags,
I know that the Foreign Legion, the French Foreign Legion, their commander was involved in some ways with the Yellow Vest.
It was an ex-commander, and he turned up at some anti-Islam, was it an anti-Islam protest or anti-something? Don't quote me on that, but there was some protest he got arrested at.
Yeah.
And I think it was Le Pen's niece supported him at the time.
Yeah. I mean, so they seem to, and this is the thing with the Foreign Legion, they seem to be, they seem to support the non-Macron, non-democracy side in this. So, again, students of history, when they think back to the Spanish Civil War, will obviously be thinking of the Spanish-Moroccan Legion, which was under the command of a certain General Franco. So that's what a lot of people were drawing the similarities between, which was something that was not lost on me. So they say that the moral dangers that they say face the Republic. President Macron's government has instructed the Army Chief of Staff to discipline the signatories for inciting insurrection. That'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yes. I mean, purging the military, that normally comes quite late on, right?
Well, I would say that the generals essentially purged themselves by signing the petition whilst still being serving members of the French military, unfortunately, because the rules are no politics, and they took a risk doing that.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying, well, that was the end result, the logical end result. So
to be fair, yeah. I mean, it's not that they're being like gotten rid of for, well, they are being gotten rid of for political reasons, but they did become make themselves political, right?
Yeah, they gave them a reason. Yeah,
that would have been the expected result that they had going in.
They also outed themselves, if you think about it as well.
Yeah. I mean, technically, when we go through the letter, well, I'll probably just skip to the letter because I guess there is an argument to make that they are basically threatening a coup. So from Macron,
I wouldn't say that. I don't think they were threatening anything.
I think they were. I think from the French perspective, they were definitely, because it was basically an ultimatum.
Well, if they were going to coup, they would be doing it, right?
They'd have done it. They wouldn't have warned.
They're French, you know.
I don't know because there is that.
Why give your enemy a time to prepare? Just go ahead and do it.
Well, they need to make Macron seem illegitimate. That's the important thing.
Can you imagine? I mean, we were saying this around the Trump Biden stuff. Can you imagine like a supposedly first world Western democracy just essentially collapsing into this day and age? Like the international community, quote unquote, would go mental. Like the UN, the EU, whatever, they would get involved.
I mean, the problem I would see with, let's just say, the scenario,
they would have to get involved, wouldn't they? Because France is a nuclear power.
Well, exactly. Like it's not just France. They're going to collapse if they do it.
Well, I mean, the problem is, like, let's say, for example,
they also have a permanent seat on the Security Council, right?
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, because I know that some reactionaries have been thinking, would it go to civil war? I don't think. I think if the military did the action of a coup, I don't think it would go to civil war because I don't think Macron is that popular enough for the country that people will be willing to die for him in mass numbers.
Yes.
I mean, he's not. I mean, if you look at the French Republic as it stands today, it's nowhere near as popular as the Spanish Republic was in 36, because 35, 36, because in some areas of the country it was extremely popular and they were extremely loyal to the party, the Socialist Party at that time. So I don't think. I think if it was going to be a coup, I think the military would find it quite easy to take over and overthrow the government. But the problem that would come from this is, what would the European Union's response be? Because either they would have to intervene against the French military, which is one option.
I mean, like the EU is essentially, like, Macron has kind of massively strengthened France's position in the EU, right? I mean, us leaving also helps them.
Yeah.
Germany is kind of sort of waning in its power within that sphere, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we were Germany's biggest ally, really, because it was us and them were the more conservative ones, and the French led the more progressive ones.
Yeah, and I mean, the German military's had their problems recently because there's been a lot of articles I've seen with the German military actually where they've been finding all these sort of far right neo-Nazi officers in the ranks of the German military.
Oh, really?
Yes, who would have thought?
Yes, if I was gonna be like, okay, if I had to choose one institution anywhere on the planet, where would I find the most Nazis? It's the German officer class.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what we have at the moment, and as you said, Jos, there was a poll done which showed that 48% of French people support the letters signatories. It doesn't. It's not like because I think people have been misreading this. It doesn't mean they support the coup, a coup. They support the message in that France is on the decline, that there is quite serious problems there. And I'm actually going to show you a series of examples from a year ago, quite extreme ones, which wasn't really reported at the time outside of France because. Well, I guess
no one cares what goes on in France. It's all about.
Well, no one cares, but it's a. I think for other countries where they have enriched diversity, this what I'll show you in a minute should serve as a very important warning.
It's actually staggering how little we know about how France works as a country, because everything is so saturated in what's America doing, what's Russia doing, what's China doing, and France is essentially our closest neighbor, right?
Yeah, and the thing there is, like, people, this isn't like a fringe part of like some conservative voting bloc in the country. 84% of people polled, so there seems to be quite a large consensus that people acknowledge that there is violence on the rise. Like with that school teacher who was beheaded, or that
there's some horrendous videos of rival gangs in French towns. I think was it Chechens or something?
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to show, because that one was
right. Yeah, there's like cars flying everywhere and guns going off, and
there was like full on street battles. I mean, it was like Chechnya in many ways. So this is a problem that is now engulfed France. Also,
I don't know how you can have a problem with this delightful enrichment.
I don't know either. So the letter in question. So it starts off with Mr. President, members of the cabinet, members of the parliament. The hour is late. France is in peril, threatened by several mortal dangers.
Can I just ask that you read this out in a French accent, just to make it a bit more dramatic?
Oh no.
Though retired, we remain.
Shit.
I can't do French accent.
This is the worst French accent.
It really is. Good morning.
Good morning.
The hour is late.
the hour is late.
France is in peril.
We are not doing French accent, okay?
I think Jos needs to read the rest of it.
No,
we're not doing French accents on here. It's not fake accents.
Of de France.
Women have right of woo.
That's also terrible, Mitch.
Yeah, he's doing it hello.
I'm doing hello. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we remain soldiers of France and cannot, under the present circumstances, remain indifferent to the fate of our beautiful country. Our tricolor flags are not simply a piece of fabric. They are a symbol of tradition, the tradition of those who, throughout the ages, whatever the color of their skin or their religion, served France and gave their lives for her. On these flags, in golden letters, it is inscribed the motto, "Honor and Fatherland." Today, our honor rests on denouncing the crumbling apart of our fatherland. Crumbling apart through a certain kind of anti-racism, which has an explicit goal to sow malice on on our soil.
Malaise.
Okay, I have to do this for Harry and too.
we used to retards who can't read.
Yeah, we can't read.
I can't read.
Welcome to
Oh
the
my
internet
God.
right, everyone. Literally, if you the internet right is full of like 50% retards, 50% femboys. That's the general.
Purge every
And
single
1% grammar Nazis.
Yeah, 1% grammar Nazis. Yeah,
There's
Purge
more
the
grammar.
rest of them.
There's more grammar Nazis than actual Nazis.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, because they're on the left.
yeah. They genuinely are.
No comment.
Up to and including hate between communities. Today, some speak of racialism, of indigenism, and of anti-colonial theories. But with these words, those hateful and fanatical partisans seek to foment a racial war. They despise our country, her traditions, her culture, and want to watch her dissolve by tearing her away from her past and her history.
Sounds
Thus-
familiar, lads.
Now,
Yeah.
I refuse to find common cause with the French.
Yes. Of course, if they are talking about the Avignon Empire, which was
Almost
controlled
like
by the English crown, I would definitely.
It's almost like if you flood your country with foreign people, that all of a sudden the people that were born and raised for generations in your country start to have a problem with it.
Are you trying to say that a politician nearly 50 years ago was right?
Oh, did he mention some sort of rivers of blood or something like
Yeah,
that?
something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
something like Romans and rivers of blood. Yeah.
No comment.
No comment. Oh, right. Thus, by attacking statues and analysing words from several centuries ago, their true goal is to undermine our ancient civil and military glories. I do have to say this: it is like they've been watching YouTube content, like from the Lotus Eaters, like Mitch's channel here, and like what we've been putting out and what others have been putting out for quite some time now. This is the sort of stuff that I would expect to come out of that sort of circle. So,
No, I wouldn't say that because we've only been saying it for about at most 10 years. There were people way before us saying this in the mainstream and writing books about it. I'd rather us not assume that it comes from the internet because it creates a delusion of grandeur.
This is
I
a
think
problem
most people
that was identified in the 50s.
Yeah, it's just some people have observed something that's happening.
I mean, where do you think the
you don't need the internet for that?
Where do you think the French concept of Islamo-fascism comes from? Oh, sorry. What was it? Is it
Islamo-leftism? They called it.
Islamo-leftism. Thank you. That's it. Yeah, Islamo-leftism.
Huberbeck was talking about that way before we did on the internet. He made novels about it. They know about this. They've known about it for a long time.
I remember you probably go back in time. I know that like back they would always equate certain elements of Islam with fascism. I've never known it to be referred to as leftism, even though some people have pointed out the fact that radical jihadis, radical Islamists seem to have a really bizarre political alliance with the radical left.
And that's been noticed for nearly 20 years now.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a reason they were quite pally with Nazi Germany. Just saying.
Yeah,
they shared a few common opinions about certain groups of people.
Yeah,
didn't like the Jesuits.
No, they weren't a fan of the Jesuits. They kept going and spreading Christianity everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, where did I? Oh, I've lost it now.
I'm wondering how far back they have to go for their military glories.
I guess it's the 100-Year War because that was the only one that they did sort of win-ish.
I mean, they had a fairly large colonial empire, I suppose. But
come on, that's not exactly winning a war.
I know, those
pygmies had awfully sharp mangoes, Mitch.
They really did.
I don't know how winning a desert counts as winning, like having a good colonial empire. I mean, they just got Western Sahara Desert. Like, well done.
Well, all the ports were like
Indochina
controlled anyway. And they did have sort of Vietnam and that, yeah.
And then we're defeated by them.
Yeah,
And who helped bail them out with the peace treaty? It was us and the Soviets, apparently.
So what we've learned is the French are good at taking over desert like Bedouin tribes and petty Asian kingdoms. That's what we learned from this. Right.
I mean, here's something. I mean, I know the Americas is mainly English, Spanish, Portuguese. There's some French in the Caribbean and sort of Central America.
It's French Guyana, to be
French Guyana, which is still.
I'm just thinking, like, do they get the whole slavery thing in France? Because they would have been involved, but not that involved.
Yeah, I think I don't think historically, no, not like in the American or the.
I don't know. The Creoles exist for a reason. They were very much involved.
I'm just thinking, do they have that narrative as a sort of mainstream?
I don't think so. Well, you have to remember with the French Revolution,
the French were the third largest slave traders.
But Jos, you have to remember the founding narrative of France is the French Revolution, the French Republic, which abolished slavery. So I think from their perspective is that they don't have the same sort of Anglosphere.
It's more fuzzy with us, yeah. It's more fuzzy. There's no hard line in the sand about, right, we were that, now we're this, right?
No, I mean, there is at the moment because, I mean, the stuff coming out of American universities has been exported into France to a lesser extent, but this is why you're having like these sort of responses of Islamo or leftist Islam, whatever it is that Macron's been saying about it.
This is Jip in the chat being like, je m'appelle Kang.
Je m'appelle Kang.
Nah.
I am called King, right?
Yeah. They had Louisiana. That's a good point. Yeah, they did have.
Oh, that is true, actually. Yes.
Wait, isn't Jip Peaman?
They had Haiti.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Peaman. Yeah. I was going to say because the interesting thing with Louisiana is the territory itself was pretty much central United States, all the way down to Louisiana. But the French, like the only bit the French really colonized and populated was southern portion of Louisiana, around Baton Rouge. And
you mean a hurricane country?
They achieved the third largest slave trader rank by the number of Africans delivered to Saint-Domingue, which is now Haiti.
Of course, Haiti as well. Yes.
Of almost 1.4 million Africans loaded on French ships during the course of the transatlantic trade, 1.16 survived to the Middle Passage.
Jesus,
pretty good odds.
Yeah, I mean,
as percentages go.
Yeah, they're better than the Portuguese, I guess.
Or the Belgians in fucking Congo.
Oh God, yeah, King Leopold.
I was reading about that, and it's like so they only figured out like that something was going on in the Congo when they saw the exports was just rubber and the imports were just guns.
Yeah.
So it's an 84.
European Union is a mistake. Giving too much power to Belgium is never a good idea.
Yeah,
it's a rump of a country anyway. No offense to the Belgians.
I mean, some places don't. Like Ghent is beautiful. Like
look, I hate to say it, but it's just Britain's buffer zone.
Yes.
Yeah. Fact.
As so much of the world is.
Yeah.
No, but specifically Belgium is to keep France and Germany away from the Channel ports.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically. We did this bit. So crumbling apart through Islamism and the hordes from the Banlusis. I don't know what.
I don't know where you are.
And then it's like crumbling apart through Islamism.
Banlieue.
Banlieue.
Don't know what that means. Yeah, is that?
I think that's a location.
Is that French from the Middle East? For the Middle East or something?
From
suburb. It's a suburb. apparently.
Oh, right.
It just means suburbs.
Suburbs. Okay.
Right. Okay. So they're talking about the areas of France, of Paris, and that, which.
Yeah, like ghettos and such.
Oh
yeah.
my god. Yeah.
Why are they writing an article in English and using French words? Just call it the suburbs.
Well, no, this is a translation, but they've kept that in, haven't they?
I guess
Yeah,
it probably means something slightly different, like the level. Like it does probably mean something, a little bit different.
So several patches of our nation have been detached and turned into territories put under submission to dogmas contrary to our constitution. Welcome to Bradford, French people. Every Frenchman, regardless of belief or non-belief, must be everywhere at home in France. There cannot and must not exist any city, any neighborhood where the laws of the republic do not writ.
Do not have writ.
Do not have writ. Okay.
Yeah, it means that they don't have power.
Two law state.
I mean, so obviously, and this is a big thing with because obviously the French Republic, they have the constitution that's written out, but they pride themselves on the fact that they're a secular nation, and that they have they have these French standards for the Republic and for the people. Standards.
Really? No.
Thick concepts and standards.
No way. They're French.
Big wrinkly-brained concepts.
Well, when I say they have standards, I don't say that's a positive term. They have standards on how they, have affairs. So, have affairs
regularly,
and they normalize it, and a massive fucked up family situation. But yeah, and this is the thing, because of course, when you invite shock horror, when you invite cultures, people from different parts of the world, different cultures, into your society.
Roger Scruton talked about this, and he basically said, look, if you'd invited them into a Christian society, they probably would have got on better with the strictures of the Christian faith, but bringing them into a secular society where there is literally nothing they can engage with, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Well, you're inviting people into an Enlightenment society. I think the problem is, the problem is a lot of the people that you're inviting in aren't regions of the world that have gone through the Enlightenment in the way that Europe and the West has. And this is the problem, because we don't obviously tolerate the sort of more fanatical wing of religious dogma. And this is why you've seen these clashes on several lines, whether it's at schools in Britain about how they represent and treat Muhammad and what have you, same in France, to even more violent extrees, and just how people go about their daily lives. And this is quite a fundamental problem, which I think the politicians. I find it hard that they did not, when they had the concept of let's invite everyone in, everyone of the world is all equal and all the same and all that sort of new age bullshit, that they didn't know that something like this could happen. I think they must have known that something along this lines would have happened, but for the very simple reason that it seems almost common sense, that it is an undeniable fact that sometimes there are just cultures which are so totally at odds with each other that it doesn't necessarily mean it's negative or that one culture is more superior than the other. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that if you have them in the same group, for God's sake, we got we joked about it earlier, we got Northern Ireland. We got Glasgow, we got fucking Yugoslavia. How many more examples do we need to draw
the UK have been trying to sort out our ethnic conflicts for 1,500 years.
Well, yeah, and then
they're still going.
Yeah, and in France, France.
I think you mean that's banter. I don't know what you're on about.
There are people, burning buses in Northern Ireland.
There are some strange people who think the Welsh invented everything.
Henry VIII was Welsh, but not Henry VI.
Your Welsh accent is nearly as bad as AI's French one.
Again, I'm not putting any effort into this.
I'm going to troll OY next week and convince him that there's actually a lost Israelite tribe that is actually Welsh.
You know he'll believe you.
I don't think you'll need to troll him. He probably thinks there already is.
Oh, God, I mean,
King Arthur was Welsh, don't you know?
We was Kangs boyo.
my God.
He was shaggy sheep boyo.
Okay. No shaggy sheep's here. Okay.
No shaggy sheep.
No shaggy sheep.
No shaggy sheep.
Crumbling
That's what I
apart.
say when I talk to the locals in Wales.
Crumbling-
The natives.
Yeah.
Josh,
Stop.
you must be confused. White people can't be native.
Welsh people, when I go to Wales, I don't want to listen to your fucking sing-song accent.
That's according to Prince Philip in Scotland.
You to me.
Okay, I'm joking. I don't hate Welsh people.
Just stop trying to revive a dead language.
That is true.
Yeah, and stop using British taxpayers' money to do it.
English, you mean?
Yes, English. Okay, let's be honest. Stop using. Well, actually, let's be even more specific, because let's be honest, the North doesn't pay that much in tax when it compares it to the South.
Doesn't matter. My money is still going to Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland.
To be fair, I think your money,
Mitch,
by the looks of it, your money is going to be going to Scotland to pay for every Scottish child to have a free bike under the SNP.
I know. I am not happy with that.
Well, when you go up to Scotland, every time you see a little shit riding, you can just go, "Give me that bike. I paid for it."
I will.
Yeah.
And then at the end you say we was Kangs.
Yeah.
At least the Scottish were Kangs.
No, but not really. Didn't they have Norman kings?
Well, I mean, that's why we have the UK, the British Isle, fucking United Kingdom, right? James
I don't know what Scotland's. I don't understand Scotland's game in the medieval era, because they had the Norwegians, and then they had the fucking French that they were trying to marry into. I just don't know what the fuck they were doing.
They're still doing it, trying to get pie with the French to piss us off.
They just like to be dominated.
Yeah. I mean, it's really,
Scotland is a woman. Is that what you're saying?
Scotland is
They
just.
are. They don't know what they want.
It's
Ginger bearded woman.
It's just cuckoldry at this point, and I mean.
But when you tell a Scotsman that your country's cut, they just go, no, not all. Hashtag not all. I'm sorry, but it's most of you.
Let's remember that the national dress.
I'm not like that. I'm not like that. They always go, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. Yeah, I know you're not like that, but you're the exception. You're not the rule.
Yeah.
A lot of them are in denial about how bad the country actually is.
I know it's really sad.
But they'll admit the issues, but they won't admit that it actually stems from the people themselves. Oh no, we can't be to blame. It's just the SNP. But who's voting for them? Yeah, but not me.
I know. Especially when they whinge about fucking Tories this and fucking Tories that, and say, bitch, the fucking Tories haven't been in charge in Scotland, haven't been in power in Scotland for any 60 years.
Voted for a Muslim to bring in hate crimes in their country so that they can't badmouth the guy.
Yeah, I saw that guy who was up at the Scottish English border, who was just having that sign saying England's English out of Scotland, keep them out and everything. And he was reported to the police, and unironically, because he's a massive SNP supporter and all that, he is being prosecuted under the hate crime bill.
Oh, that's quite funny. That's pretty funny.
And he was coping on his blog. I think apparently he was coping on Twitter before he deleted it. He was coping so hard about the law, and it's people were just sending the Joker memes of you get what you fucking deserve. Oh God, the SNP are just. I'm not going to say the word, but yeah. They can't string a sentence together as well. I don't get it.
I had one person who legit told me, and he was an SNP supporter, that Scotland never started a war with England, ever.
Okay. Oh, God. What? I tell you what, the SNP are the black Israelites of Britain.
Yes,
absolutely devoid of historical accuracy in any way. I mean...
It's Braveheart. They learned all the history from Braveheart.
I know. I mean, Braveheart is just a, it's a. I mean,
William Wallace.
Yeah, Braveheart is just a overglorified porno.
Yeah, Celtic pornography.
Yeah, and most of the actors in that are actually English. So
Yeah, Gibson. What about Mel Gibson? What's his genetics?
He's American.
Yeah, but what's his ancestry? Let's have a look.
Oh, I think Mel Gibson. I think he was in I think he had some sort of relation to Australia. So
he was born in New York but raised in Australia. Yeah. Apparently, he's got Irish descent.
Oh,
he's got Irish citizenship somehow.
Lol.
Has he actually lived there? I doubt it.
I doubt it. Well, there are not many black people in Ireland, so maybe he would like to live there. I don't know. I remember those phone call tapes when they were released on YouTube, early YouTube back in the day. That was really fun. Going to school and just playing them, blasting them out.
Also, apparently his mum is actually from Ireland, which is fair enough, I guess.
Yeah,
he's less of a plastic paddy than some of the other Americans.
Yeah, Biden. Well, which we'll get onto in a bit.
But did
you know
see
the
that,
thing?
Did you see that clip that Gamonista shared?
But that explains why he hates the English.
Oh yeah, God save the We'll get on. We get onto that thing that he says. Yeah,
that was a while ago. That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
That was 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So let's just finish this letter by the generals and we'll get onto that. So, crumbling part when hate replaces fraternity during protest, and the regime used police as jackboots and scapegoats against yellow vests wearing compatriots who seek only to express their hopelessness. This, even though ski mask wearing individuals infiltrate those protests, destroy businesses, and threaten the police. And yet the police only follow the sometimes contradictory policies set out by you holders of political office.
Yeah, because the police were being quite brutal in France. I wonder what the military think of that.
I know that there was some military people who were posting at the time that they were sort of joining in with the protest, not like in the military capacity.
There was the fight. There were firemen, I think, weren't they, joining in with the protests at one point?
Yeah, there was some police did join in because there was one point the police went on strike in Paris, and so they had to bring in other police forces. So
from the suburbs and that, whatever it was, the Billier or whatever that it was called.
Yeah. The peril rises, violence increases every day. Who could have predicted 10 years ago that a teacher could one day have his head cut off as he left his middle school?
That was brutal. I guess if you were that teacher in, what was it, Batley in the UK, who had a similar situation with the picture of Muhammad, right? God, you'd be thinking about that.
Well, his life's over. He can't do anything ever again.
No,
that guy will be under police protection for the rest of his days.
Like Salman Rushdie. What amazed me about that whole thing with the British guy was all the people in our neck of the woods going, "How this is 2021? How can this be happening here?" I'm like, have you been living under a rock for the past couple of years? This has been happening for 40 years.
I mean,
this is nothing new.
I remember terrorist attacks are Islamic terrorist attack are kind of uncommon anymore.
I think it was one of Freud's family. He did a documentary on women in Islam and the abuse they get. He got beheaded in the street. Or at least he got shot. I can't remember if he got beheaded or stabbed or whatever, but it was by chance that the terrorists found him and killed him. This has been happening for years, and people all of a sudden forgot that this is what they do. If they don't kill you, they make your life a misery.
I think an interesting one is Denmark with that regard, because the police are actually quite good at protecting people there. Like I've seen guys like burning the Quran, and then it's literally like a zombie movie. Like this guy, what is it? Daisy? No.
Oh yeah.
World War Z, the movie where there's like the really fast running zombies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, where there's the guy in the middle and they're all running at him, and the police are just tackling them one by one as they come at him. It's so bizarre, like out in the open.
Yeah, I mean,
you do know that in order to shut down any major city anywhere in the West, all you've got to do is burn a Quran in the center of it and run.
The thing is, ultimately, though, this is what happens with the problem with like ghettoization, where most people, if you're not part of that community, you wouldn't know what life was like in that because you wouldn't see it daily. And so this is the thing but with France, I think this is where I would say France is more different than, let's say, this Bradford in this regard, that the violence level from the diversity that's been injected into France is more rowdy and more.
They've had some horrendous terrorist attacks in France.
Yeah, and as I said, we'll get into the clips that I've got because I don't think it will. I like to say I don't think it will happen here, but at the same time, if I saw it like happening tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised in like Bradford or somewhere like that.
Can't wait to see the census results.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be
a black pill. That's going to be a black pill.
Well, I'm
or yeah, no, I won't say.
The only white pill would be that Enoch Powell was actually right about Birmingham when everyone laughed, saying about how it'd be minority white British, and it was like, oh, don't be ridiculous, ha 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 ha.
Well, this is the thing. Enoch Powell was making these predictions and saying this would be the case when immigration was like net sort of sub 50k, and now it's like what last year was the biggest on record at like 330k or something in that region.
Yeah, he was he was complaining at it going up to something like 50k, right?
The Conservatives in the last 10 years have presided over more immigration than basically the end between 2010 and the end of World War II.
I mean, in that case, can we say all of history? All of history? Because
I mean, yeah, basically all of history is
because before then it was a few thousand. Like,
it's astounding how much immigration has come in the last 10 years.
Okay, how many Normans came across in 1066?
Oh, I can tell you exactly how much. I believe the agreed number is between 8,000 and 10,000.
It's been a fraction of the population, absolutely minuscule.
Yeah, the reason why we know it is, of course, we've got Doomsday.
Sure, actually, we have direct records.
There are direct records. Most of those people who came over were servants for the various, because a lot of nobility, Norman nobility, came over obviously because they got all those Saxon lands, became part of their fiefdoms and what have you. A lot of the Norman population that did come over settled in the city, the newly formed city of Westminster, because you had the city of London, which was the old Roman/Saxon city, and then you had the city of Westminster, which was which obviously became the capital for the Norman, which London became the capital for the Norman English kingdom instead of Winchester.
Yes, what was that? Was that? I mean, as people probably more versed in history with me, is that anything to do with it being the Roman capital?
Probably not. It was.
Well, no, it was Colchester. It was Colchester.
I think it was. I think it was his access, because the Thames had direct access to the ocean, and bearing in mind most of Norman political power in the early days, because one of the problems the Normans had was they couldn't subdue the whole of England, because when they killed at Hastings Harold, the problem that William and the Normans had was subduing like the Norman, the Saxons in East Anglia, and of course the North, because of course, I mean, I don't know if Mitch, have you heard this? It was the event called harrowing of the North.
I do know. Yeah,
you do know. I thought you would know. I think most like history authors.
I do have a degree in this.
Yes, I'm glad you know. I'd be very worried if you didn't. Yeah. So which because I can't remember, Mitch, which village or town which was completely wiped out by the Normans, like literally they just killed everybody.
I can't remember specifics, unfortunately.
It was a market town, and what made that one unique was they pretty much, I think they killed every person in that town as just a point of principle to say, we're the new rulers, no more rebelling, or else, and it was warning to other villages and towns not to do the same thing, because that's.
I mean, there was a siege, but I don't know if that was a village or just the outpost that the last Saxon rebels hidden. That was a massacre. I know that. I mean, they killed 100,000 people. That's a genocide.
By that standards. I mean, I actually just had a look. The population of Anglo-Saxon England is it's quite interesting because it looks like it could be anywhere from like 2.5 million to 3 million. So okay, so you have like 3 million. Let's just say 3 million. That's a good like round up number here. You have 3 million in Anglo-Saxon England, and then you just have 100,000 Normans. That's not going to dent the population in a certain way. I think you could argue that because a lot of Normans settled in the southeast and London area, one could argue that there was some greater correlation. There's actually a good map I'll bring up in a bit. You can actually see the ethnic sort of historical demographic of England and where it is today. You can actually see people with, let's say, the Anglo-Saxon I won't say gene, but just sort of ethnic background is predominant in the Midlands, in Northern England, in the West Country, in East Anglia, and then when you have like Norman, French sort of aligned ethnic background, it's in the southeast. So it correlates even to this day. Like with Cornwall and Devon,
they're sort of Brittonic, right?
Yeah, so in Cornwall they are very Brittonic. One side of the Tamar, and literally because you've got two villages on either side of in Devon and Cornwall, and one side, even to this day, they did a DNA test of the people, and they are still Brittonic. And then on the Devon side, they're still like massively Anglo-Saxon Brittonic mix. So it does show that even to this day, nearly 1,000 years later, that there hasn't been significant changes that we are led to believe by some majority midwit Americans, because of course you had that thing with the whole Anglo-Saxon political traditions, and there's a lot of
which is it's a stupid phrase, isn't it?
It's
not even accurate because their politics was different to ours.
I
wouldn't call them liberal,
What, Anglo-Saxons?
No, not in the way that we would use the term.
I think
how Burke would use the term,
I think what the general one thing I do think that they were trying to. I think that when they say Anglo-Saxon political tradition is more.
Well, they mean white, don't they? They mean white.
No. Hang on a sec, Mitch. No, I think what they mean is the actual legal system. The fact that it's so heavily devolved and localized to a point where it isn't centralized into a power. So that's one interesting thing with the Anglo-Saxons.
No, but when Americans use that term, they mean white.
They're not thinking
Anglo-Saxons.
They're not thinking that deeply about it, AI. There's no way.
They're really not. You're giving them far too much faith.
Well, I don't think Marjorie Taylor was actually thinking white. I think she was thinking of she didn't say Anglo-Saxon.
She was thinking British rather than German or French.
Well, yeah, that's what I was to say. She didn't mention race directly. She was talking about. She wasn't saying like exclusive. I mean, if you want to go like the Democrat. I mean, if you look at the Democrat messaging back in the day when they did used to use the term Anglo-Saxon cultural heritage, that was their preferred use of language when they would refer to the Anglo-Saxon in the American context. When she said political traditions, I think it was quite clear that she meant parliamentarianism, localism. I think she was trying to say localism, but I think it came out. I think the Americans. The problem is the American left don't know what Anglo-Saxon political traditions or legal system means, because they think it means like white nationalism and blah blah blah, genocide and all that bullshit.
Any reference to Germanic peoples, they just think Nazi.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're idiots. But then on the same token, on the right, they interchange, because she interchanged Anglo-Saxon traditions with European architecture. So I think they don't understand what Anglo-Saxon is, because they give as like a broad European stuff, which I've noticed the right in America do quite frequently, because again, America is a very isolationist place, and they just don't understand the realities of the wider world, and that's the problem. And that's the problem with them, is that both of them were
I guess we can say that they basically mean Northern European, and more specifically British, as opposed to Italian. Well, when they say Anglo-Saxon, they don't mean Italian or Spanish, right?
Oh, I don't know, because this is the thing.
Americans know what Italian looks like.
Yeah, I know, but yes, I think Marjorie Taylor was referring to effectively English culture, but she couldn't. But for whatever reason, I mean, I'd rather they just say English, classical liberalism or English culture.
She would have said that.
If they said English culture, it would have been.
She would have said that. She would have said that, but she said,
I do think
in America it's a racial term.
If she's going to be racial,
it is in America, not over here. That's not what you're getting.
Unless I actually ask her directly, or I am actually aware, because in the left in America use Anglo-Saxon to this day as a racial term, because they are not very smart, because they
all do it. It's not just the left in America. They all do it.
Mitch is right.
It's always been a racial term for them, not over here.
I don't think with Marjorie. I don't know if it was for Marjorie Taylor though, because she said political traditions. If she said Anglo-Saxon,
she could have said British or American. She didn't.
I mean, well, what I will say, Mitch, is they're probably trying not to refer to an actual existing nation.
Well, yeah, because first of all, remember the problem with America is they don't understand their connection with Britain, and the trouble is, and they don't understand their connection with Britain. I think also there is. And I think this is fair to say, ever since Biden's come in, there is a sentiment within the American political establishment which are anti-British because of Irish heritage, which exists across America, whether it's New York, Boston, or Chicago. That is an existing fact. And then ultimately, I think when she said Anglo-Saxon political culture, I think she was referring to stuff like the Magna Carta and such like.
I just don't think that educated.
I don't know. She might be. I don't know. She seems to be. She seems to be relatively smart.
Well, the Magna Carta isn't Anglo-Saxon.
It's not. It's Norman.
Sorry, what's that?
Magna Carta's not even. Yeah, it's not Anglo-Saxon. It's Norman.
It's a couple of hundred years late.
Yes, it's like 200 years later.
Well, no. Hang on a second. The people that rebelled
were French Normans.
No, the barons were French.
The ones that rebelled had titles from Saxon times. So
they were given them by the Norman invaders, right? I mean, they were Normans.
Yeah, they were Norman.
No. Well, no, because not all Norman invade. No, hang on a second. No, because now you're conflating the two. Not all lands in some Saxons nobility did hold on to their titles and just amalgamated.
Okay, so it was a combination of Saxon and Norman barons then.
Well, yeah, but the thing though is, the point was with the Baron Wars was that the Normans wanted to control England like a feudalistic state, kingdom that existed in Europe, and the wider English society, which were the Anglo-Saxons, were like, no, this is how we do government here. This is how we expect our king to rule. This is a contract that we want. And that's why you had the various conflicts, and that's why
I don't believe that. I don't think that's what happened, because how will we run like a feudal society?
Yeah, but it's different in that it's not like absolute from the top
So what
down.
do you mean? So what do you mean by that? What do you mean that we you either have feudalism or?
Well, no. I think what we're saying
had feudalism. We were run in that way for 500 years.
The French feudalism is distributed top down with the king having absolute power, right? Whereas in the UK goes upwards.
Hang on a sec. We did not have feudalism. We had feudalism.
We did have feudalism
at most for 100 years. We did not have it for 500 years at all.
We definitely did. We were late. Let me just rephrase that. France actually ended feudalism before we did.
No, hang on this. No. That is not
It did.
accurate.
It's true.
No,
English peasants didn't free themselves from serfdom and stuff like that until at least 100 years after France, and that was in between 14 and 1500s when it just slowly melted away.
Okay, hang on a second, Mitch. We had a
It
parliament.
didn't last 100 years until the 1100s. That's just not
We
true.
had a parliament which had, well, first of all, our serfs. Okay, we're going to go back to like peasantry and serfdom. Our peasants.
The French had a parliament. They were still feudal.
They weren't feudal because they had the right to interchange within any feudal barony. They weren't tied to the land like European.
They did have. There was such a thing called villeins, and serfs were also tied to the land in both France and Britain.
Not in Britain. Not to my knowledge of Britain.
Yes, they were. They were called villeins, who were essentially slaves, almost.
Yeah, I mean, Norman and Saxon law do refer to chattels, which I guess just means property.
And the villeins weren't quite slaves, but they were tied to the land. Then there was also serfs. There's a reason why there's a concept called freedmen, and it's not just a Roman invention. The English also.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, no, because I'm talking about serfs, because serfs were the majority of the population.
Yeah, I mean, and how did they become? And how did they not become serfs? They had to buy their freedom, essentially, or run away to the city and stay there for 2 years, evading capture. The French figured that out before the English did properly.
Yeah, but the French because hang on a sec. We had a parliamentary system.
It was not the parliamentary system that we know it today.
Hold on, just to settle something here. You're talking about villenage in England. And that died out in the 1500s. That was not abolished in France until much later, 1789, until the Revolution.
Oof, that's
right. But I don't think there were many left by then, though, because they were just simply saving money and buying their way out of it.
Well, there probably wasn't many left in England by 1500 either.
That's what I mean, though. That's how it died out. But in France, I think maybe legally it would have been on the books, but that doesn't mean there were any villeins left.
I'm just going back. I'm just trying to get the difference between the.
But to say that England wasn't feudal,
it wasn't feudal in any sense of the. No, it wasn't feudal. It really was.
Books on this subject.
It wasn't feudal. I'm sorry. If you're going to tell me that England is feudalistic as the rest, like of France and the Holy Roman Empire.
But the thing that we call feudalism is not the same in every country, though.
Oh, okay. So now we're changing the goalpost.
No. We're not changing the goalpost. That's exactly what it is. I'm not saying it's the same as every other country, but we were feudalistic.
Yeah,
feudalism in France and England is not the same as feudalism in Hungary, where there's actually lack thereof, or Germany, or Russia even.
But I'm saying we're not feudalistic, though. That's the thing.
We were feudalistic.
We weren't feudalistic because
feudalism was brought over with the Normans.
The Magna Carta. The
Anglo-Saxons may not have been, but the Normans brought it to the country, and it didn't.
Yes, and that's what you're saying, is that the Magna Carta kind of rolls that back a bit in a sense.
Yes, what I'm saying is the Normans brought in feudalism in the European context of what existed in France, because of course Normans were, their liege was the French king, and so yes, naturally they brought in feudalism because Saxon England land. Okay, so here's a good one. Common land, right? All land in mainland Europe had a form of control, whether it's through barons, dukes, what have you. Every land was accountable. In Saxon England, that was not the case. You had common land, you had common property.
Yeah. England had, I think, sort of around about 10% of people were freemen as well. Yeah.
You had that, but land itself wasn't wholly controlled. It was free. It was considered free, like mainly forests and meadows. Those were the places considered free. That was mainly utilized by the peasantry. When the Saxons came in, of course, when the Normans came in, even they went to they were feudalistic. So yes, they did carve up and they did remove.
I think what's important, though, in the context of this conversation is, I think Mitch is right, to be honest. Most of the time when Americans in particular refer to Anglo-Saxons, they're doing it based on race, which is how Americans view almost everything, because race is such a big issue.
I think most Americans,
if you were being charitable, you could argue that they were trying to draw a a likeness through their direct history to their English and therefore Anglo-Saxon ancestors, and the continuance and evolution of that tradition and system.
They don't mean
over
Anglo-Saxon
time.
society; they mean the race specifically.
They're harking to. Well, listen, look, America since their independence have pursued a far more French-style system, and let's be
yes, and I
brutally
struggle
honest
to
about
explain that to Americans.
and well, they allied with the French. They must have been something.
It's more that their cultures
like about us.
Their cultures are made by design rather than evolving over 1,000
I'll give them credit though. I need to give credit where it's due. Not all the Americans were in favour of an alliance with France.
And so I think if you're being charitable, you could argue that they see the devastation that this French system has brought on them, as it's doing in France, and they want to reject that and return to the evolved and cultured Anglo-Saxon heritage that they could have had if they hadn't been ungrateful colonials.
It's funny because a lot of the problems in France stem from this importation of this American identity politics, because I think Freedom Alternative said something in the video last week, in the World Sofa report, that in America there is a legal, and in this country too, there's a literal legal definition of what is white, but in France there isn't. You're either French or you're not French. Well, and that's completely. I mean, it's alien to us, but it's alien to the French and the Germans and whoever, especially.
That alien to us, because we had something very similar in regard to the Empire, where everyone, subjects, where
the Empire, the Empire.
Well, this was the whole the race relations bill and stuff that came out in the 60s and so on is a direct result of all of that, trying to define what actually, what it actually means to be British, for example. And they did a terrible job of it.
No, I mean, I do think most Americans, from what I can see when we were talking about it, their mind it was white, effectively. Whether they, I mean, mostly negative. That's my point. I was getting across was that it was negative perspective that they came up with, and they didn't. I mean,
well again, the thing is whether it was intended that way or not, that's how they're always going to see it, especially in this modern age of.
I think Marjorie Taylor, though, she was trying to reference Tucker Carlson, who also said, I don't know if he said Anglo. I think he might have said Anglo-Saxon, but he also said, I think he did reference the common law, because that's the thing. I mean, you have common law, and then you have the sort of European inquisitorial legal system where I guess you could say America has somewhat also adopted that sort of legal system in a certain recent trial in Minnesota.
You mean the one where they were going to rearrest a person afterwards if they'd been acquitted or no verdict?
Well, yeah, and the fact that all aspects, all structures of state and government declared him guilty anyway. On the day.
Well, what I don't understand, and this could be just a weird feature of the American legal system, is I don't understand how he can be guilty of accidentally killing him and not accidentally killing him.
I don't understand that either.
I think we've been through this, and it's because actually second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter in America are essentially the same thing as manslaughter over here.
Okay. So they're all accidental.
There's different levels. None of them are intentional.
Right.
They're just different. They're just. I think second degree implies some negligence in that. Given that he's a police officer, he should have known better, kind of thing.
Whereas you'd assume they'd have a separate sort of charge and then plus negligence. Or something.
Well, we have something similar here in relation to manslaughter, where we have. We have two different types of manslaughter. I can't remember the terms off the top of my head at the minute, but I think essentially second degree murder there is one type of manslaughter here, and then third degree and manslaughter are basically the other type.
Right. Okay.
But they're
the attempt to murder.
That's just me not understanding the American legal system.
Because I thought the same as you at first. Because to me, murder, because we're English, implies some degree of premeditation and intention.
Yes.
Or sorry, maybe not premeditation, but certainly intention.
Well, it's I wanted to kill this guy. I wanted to kill this guy, right? That's murder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean that's
not
the case.
Not so in America because they have lots of different degrees that mean
Bloody
different things.
French.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, we'll get back to the article, the letter. Therefore, the leaders of our country must absolutely find the courage required to eradicate those dangers. To do so is often necessary only to apply existing laws without weakness. Do not forget that, like us, a great majority of our fellow citizens is incensed by your cowardice and your guilty silences.
Well, they haven't been guilty silent for a while, have they? Because there's an election coming up.
Yeah.
I can't believe people actually got tricked by Macron. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's an election year. Or at least it's next. I don't know when it is, but it's next year, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that some people were going, "Oh,
Based
Macron. Base Macron." It's like
it's not based.
It's not.
I don't think Le Pen is either. Really, I mean, she's to the left of the most right wing mainstream political party, which is the Republique, whatever they're called.
Yes. I think because this was AA stream on this the other day was actually all right. Like they had a French guy who was talking about the sort of different parties.
She's quite economically to the left. I know that.
Well, she's a populist, of course.
Yeah, she's massively economically to the left.
Yeah,
Socially,
but I mean, the two of the main French parties are the socialists and the communists. So
yeah,
anyway.
It does look like the communists would vote for her in the second round of voting.
She's quite socially liberal in that, even Macron's party were calling her out for not wanting to ban the burqa, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a big because I can't remember which minister it was, but one of the ministers basically challenged her on TV and said, you basically. I can't remember exactly how it was.
I think what's happened. I think what's happened with Macron and Le Pen is Macron has come to the conclusion that the French public are really, really sick and tired, obviously, with this diversity, which all the opinion polls does suggest that there's something into this. So he's moved him, and of course, as Mitch said, election year. So he's moved himself to the right.
Throws a few bones and makes, says a few good words, and everyone will fall into line. And
to get Le Pen voters, Le Pen, who is worried that she doesn't want the party to be too quote unquote radical right. Is moving herself to the center to get more votes from whichever group. I mean, she does look like she's doing quite well within the communist group in the second round of voting.
Well, I mean, if I can just repeat what the guy said on AA stream, which seemed to make sense, there was 4 main parties, and were they Republicans, Socialists, Communists, and something else? Well, no, because I mean, like traditionally within the French Parliament. In the same way that we have the sort of 2 plus the Liberals, right?
Like the Liberal Democrats, sort of
something like that. But so whether or not the party's called that, they kind of take their spot basically. And what normally happens is that they have the first round of voting, and then after that, basically everyone says, right, go and vote for that person, and then 2/3 go for 3/4 go for one party.
It's not too dissimilar to the alternative vote that we were asked if we wanted.
But it's a bit like in America, when Bernie drops out and he says everyone go and vote for Biden, that sort of thing, but it's kind of institutionalized.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm asking for your support.
Yeah. As Cardinal Misset, primate of Belgium, once said, "When prudence is everywhere, courage is nowhere." Ladies and gentlemen, stop equivocating. The hour is late. The work ahead is immense. Do not lose time and know that we are ready to support political leaders who would undertake the rescue of the nation. I mean, this is the paragraph that I would say this sounds like a call to action in some regards. Either it's, vote Le Pen or something else.
Well, the thing is, if they wanted to do a coup, they would have just done a coup.
Well, yeah, I don't think they want to do a coup yet, but it's like they want to do something, but they're sort of tiptoeing around the issue, which is also weird because I don't know why.
I don't know. I mean, I could just call the French military pussies.
Well, I mean, either they're just mega pussies, or because this is the thing that's been sort of I've been racking my brain. I just don't know. I just want to know why, because if all these military people, like all these generals, all these officers, and all these ordinary rank soldiers sign this, like why? I want to know why. What is the purpose? Because I don't believe they just did it for the sake of it.
Just for the memes, lads. Signing petitions with the boys and getting fired for it.
You get, I don't know, because they've got nothing to gain by doing it. It's not like Conservative MPs who sign a document saying they don't support something because it looks good in their constituencies or whatever, but really they'll abstain or vote with it anyway.
Mm.
You know, it's not like that because there's nothing for them to gain from it. So
yeah,
you know, and the thing is, they all lost their jobs, and that was completely predictable. So why would you put your name to that unless you actually meant to do something by it? And if you mean to do something by it, you don't put an open letter. You just storm the palace and put a bullet in. I mean, put a
careful
baguette.
Put a baguette in Macron. Yeah,
put a baguette in Macron.
A baguette around his head.
Just a bunch of absolute faguettes.
Oh, okay, so let's finish that. However, if nothing is done, heedlessness will continue to spread its poison throughout society. Inexorably, in the end, there will be an explosion, and our comrades in active military service will be forced to step in and undertake the perilous mission of protecting our civilization values and the life of our fellow citizens.
I mean, that's pretty strong. Like, they're saying, okay, in the end, the military are going to have to come in, meaning us.
Yeah.
And we'll be on the side of what we've just said above, right? Protecting their civilization and their fellow citizens. That's saying, like, we're going to have to step in eventually if you don't, if you don't do anything.
All I'm saying is that we probably shouldn't have stopped at the 7th war of the coalition.
Just partition France. We could have Aquitaine. Don't want to give the Germans anything though.
Well, they deserve a bit by now. They
can, after all these years, they can have Alsace-Lorraine. That's fine.
Look, they were quite useful at Waterloo. So
that's true. Yeah. Well, okay, they can have Alsace-Lorraine as long as they partition themselves back into the Holy Roman Empire.
I don't know. I mean, that it sounds like a call to arms, near enough.
I'd say that second to last paragraph is very sort of strongly worded.
It is quite strongly worded.
It does sound like a threat. Basically, it's not even that hidden.
Yeah, which again is weird because again, signing that letter, unless they signed it and they just didn't read it. People, they just let generals just sign it.
Like, I will sign this letter. And gets fired.
Yeah, which is also an option because that does happen. People do sign stuff which they don't read, and it comes back to bite them.
Labour MPs are good at that. Nash Shah, she signed something she didn't read on Twitter.
Yeah. It is, it's a problem with Labour, isn't it? I remember that Owen Jones.
I wouldn't be mocking people who can't read if I were you.
Oof. Okay, fine.
We're almost as bad as Harry Ann, man.
Bye, Joss.
Bye, Joss. Fuck you, Joss. I'll bring you back.
Joss, how do you feel?
I feel frankly betrayed.
Vindicated.
I don't blame you.
Hashtag free Jaws.
Free Jaws.
How much?
Cringe is saying the mayor of Paris has cast a lot in with
Yeah,
the
that
general.
was the same day as this all came out, I think.
Yeah, this was really bizarre because Macron really simped for her during the elections because I think she's in the same party.
Oh, it's a bit like all the Supreme Court judges that Donald Trump simped for and conveniently forgot about.
They all betrayed him.
Sorry, before we go any further, I can see some abject slander in the chat. I'm being called ginger in Scottish. This is not.
Wow. Is this true?
I can confirm he is ginger and he is Scottish.
Disappointed in you, Josh.
AI is the only one here who knows what I look like. Oh man, you can confirm that I'm not ginger or Scottish. In fact, Cringe said I look Mediterranean.
Cringe looks Mediterranean.
Are you swarthy, Jules?
I would rather be Portuguese than Scottish.
Oof.
Oh, Portuguese are good.
They're good. The good lads. There was a map of Europe that I saw about which was like.
If I speak, Twitter will punish me.
Yes, it's like COVID cases per million or something, and it's just England and Portugal are just white, as in no, it's very little. The rest of Europe is like blues and blacks.
Okay. So in the final paragraph, and this to me is probably like the most spiciest bit, it is easy to see that the time for hesitation is over. Otherwise, tomorrow's civil war will put an end to this growing chaos, and there will be thousands of deaths of which you will bear responsibility. Right.
I mean, that's not a threat. That's more of a, this is what is going to happen. This is like an inevitable consequence, not a stepping in.
Well, this is the whole rivers of blood thing, isn't it? It's like, no, I'm not saying that, people should go out and start knifing.
Yeah, the whole premise is that this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But you see, the point is the military have said this is what's going to happen, as you said, but they have also stated they will step in to stop it before it reaches that point. So it's kind of like a ticking time bomb, effectively, and that the military are aware that before it's going to go off. And also, just one other thing, the lead signature on this letter was the head of the French Foreign Legion.
An
headed, he's ex-head. Yeah, he's the guy I said about earlier who got arrested at some rally somewhere. I think it was for Le Pen or her daughter. No, I know what it was. It was the Calais migrant camps.
Yes.
I think it was Le Pen or her niece that sort of looked after him.
Joss, if you're not ginger, you probably shouldn't have a ginger avatar.
The first one was like it was a white background with like my dark hair, and then I added the sort of glowing eyes, but you can't see them because I put that sunglass mask over the top. So the glowing eyes are red, and they made everything else red.
Cope. You're just coping, Jaws.
Wow,
Just
I'm offering you a reasonable explanation.
Ginger Jaws.
Ginger Jaws. You're almost as ginger as Harry Ann. That's just embarrassing.
Ginger Jaws, the swarthy Scotsman.
This is
Ginger Harry Ann, the fucking Ushanka wearing communist.
At least I'm not actually ginger like Harry, and at least it's literally just a meme. And the whole premise of the meme is that it's a bad thing, right?
Poor Harry, and he's not even here to defend himself.
Yeah, well, he doesn't deserve a defence.
He doesn't. He is ginger after all.
As are you.
I keep being told. I do get the occasional ginger hair in my beard, though. That's
next topic.
Very sad day for me.
Next topic.
We did that one for an hour and a half.
Bruh.
I'm not good. The third topic I was gonna just do. Well, actually, we'll do the third. Let's just go like I call it Keir Starmer posting his elves.
You know what? I thought, wrongly as it turned out, that he would bring Labour back to more of the centre ground.
Nah. I told you
it's
all.
Just wall to wall cringe.
If anything, he's made Ed Miliband look credible again.
Exactly.
Mate, when he's kneeling, that's all you need to know.
But he didn't do that till he was a leader. I mean, like I say, when you have him,
he did do that when he was leader. When all the
No.
riots were going on.
He didn't do that until he was leader.
He didn't do that until he was leader. Before that,
Well, because it wasn't even a big thing in Britain. So
hold on. But before that, you had Corbyn and Keir, and you'd never think Keir would be into all this ID poll, but it just shows you how far like Labour as a party have gone. They just seem.
Well, look what Blair did. We all think his social policy was ID poll to some extent. Starmer comes from that wing of the Labour Party.
Boris's isn't.
I'm not saying Boris isn't, but like I'm just saying that. Of course,
it is
Keir
everywhere.
Starmer's into it.
It is everywhere, and he's got to be to the left.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but you're bringing Boris into it when he's
no. Sorry, I'm saying that because it's everywhere. It's like the sort of accepted norm. Starmer is always going to take it further. He's not going to.
Yeah, I know, but even back then, Blair was bringing it in.
Oh no, I mean now. Sorry,
and Starmer was a big part of his party. So.
Oh, okay. No, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Starmer.
But hold on. There's a difference between bringing it in or creating an environment where it will manifest and actively participating openly. Mitch, I'm not saying they didn't, for goodness sake. What I'm saying is there is a difference between being Corbyn and preaching it everywhere for years and falling in line with momentum and all that kind of stuff. There is a marked difference between that and the image Keir and indeed Blair had, who you would probably never find falling in line with the likes of momentum. Not that they wouldn't be happy that they exist. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is Keir, like Blair, did not come across in the mould of Corbyn, did not come across openly ID poll. It's interesting to see the turn he's taken, and I think that shows just how much of a hold it has on the sort of.
I'm not saying he's the same as Corbyn, because you don't have to be as left wing as Corbyn to still be into identity politics. Just look at again, like what Josh said, Boris and all that.
But Mitch, again, you can't say that like it was obvious that Blair was into that. Like,
not in the same way.
Everyone was quite happy to vote him in. Yeah, really, because it wasn't obvious at the point that
compare him to Corbyn
in '97.
Well, I don't know.
Hold on. Blair was talking the exact opposite of ID poll. Just look at the campaign. You know, the video.
Speaking is different to acting.
Yeah. So are we talking about identity politics, or just identity?
Yes.
I would say like identity politics, as in black or brown people oppressed.
More just in general, the whole spectrum of the thing.
I do think. I mean, the trouble is the environment in the '90s and early 2000s. It still was the identity politics that existed then.
Isn't actually that different to now.
Well,
it's just that nobody was.
I think it was from what I remember. It was very much preference of.
Well, that was the era of the police being found to be institutionally racist and stuff like that.
It was the era of you don't see colour. Colour isn't an issue. You're not.
Yeah, but at the same time, the Stephen Lawrence thing and the whole police inquiry and stuff like that was happening at the same time.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Do you not hear about
policemen killed a black guy?
They didn't kill him. That's not what happened. It was more a case of he was already stabbed and they didn't do enough to save his life, but they didn't kill him. And then next thing you know, the whole force is found to be institutionally racist. And then that's had a knock-on effect.
No, but I mean, to be fair though, like the Met Police has been found to be institutionally racist in the 70s and the 80s. Like decades before, so it's not. And like, even the City of London police, there's been like widespread corruption in all aspects of it. So it's not like. I think they found that the particular borough that the where Stephen Lawrence, where the police responding came from, that there was that particular borough station had, that there was levels of incompetency. They weren't following procedure in the correct way. They didn't carry on up leads, and I remember there was also like witnesses. There was a lot of multitude of failures, which was then under the umbrella of institutional racism. I don't know. Did they ever accuse individual officers in the case of being racist and just didn't really care about solving Stephen Lawrence's murder because he was black?
I think it was the guys on the scene, but then again, the inquiry was looking into the whole police force, wasn't it? And they found that it was, and it's had a knock-on effect with them.
That's one of my problems I've always had.
Can I speak? I keep getting interrupted.
Right.
All I'm going to say is, because I've forgotten most of what I was going to say, was that it had a knock-on effect, and that is the reason why they're so PC now, because they're trying desperately not to look it.
Yeah. I think it was accelerated largely, though, because there was identity politics there. And I was going to say a lot of it, from what I remember of the early 2000s, was being accepting towards homosexuals. That was quite a big thing because they were seen as the group in society that had been oppressed.
The whole thing of the 2000s, and I'm older than I think most of you guys, it was the idea that you didn't see difference. Like, you weren't to see difference. Everyone was the same. There was no difference. And like I say, under the guise of that, they may well have created the atmosphere to usher in what we see now, but it was a very different application of ID pol, if you like.
Different vibe.
Nothing like what it is now.
But a lot of it is the problem that we have is effectively these ideas, because a lot of them are, if you take like the more sort of identity politics that have come from, like white privilege and political blackness and stuff that comes out
American.
American, but you see it encroaching in Britain as well. A lot of it is down to social media, because these ideas permeate around social media, and the problem is the journalist class and think tanks and all the other elements that perpetuate the narrative, let's say, the stories around this. They all use social media along with the politicians, along with the MPs, and that's why you see like the likes of Tobias Ellwood back in Black Lives Matter like a year ago when the riot hit London, which descended into a riot. While that was happening, he was doing the knee in his office and going, "Yes, go Black Lives Matter," and it's like, so I think a lot of it is down to social media as well, because of the way it's a very interesting set of echo chamber where a lot of people think that's how. Because I think a lot of MPs think that social media, what you see on Twitter, is what the public are thinking.
Well, again, this is something. I think it's either Douglas Murray or Roger Scruton. I think it was in a not a debate, but a conversation they were having together, and they identified their MPs being glued to their mobile phones, and that being the view in which they see the world, because they have those that they can have those in the chamber and all that kind of stuff, and they don't have to be. That's their view on the world, and of course all they see on that is this relentless, ridiculous idea.
And it's why you have such a poor quality of MPs, because effectively they have the mentality of like a teenage girl, where they always want to be loved and liked online.
That's Boris's big problem, right? He just wants to be liked at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is why he. I think you could look at everything that's happened in the last couple of years and probably see a lot of negative things that have come out from him. It's largely because of what the media says and what people say on social media, and I think he's driving force behind that. Is because it's a terrible echo chamber, and I think maybe I hope that there is a generational difference. So when generations to come will be a bit more wise.
They don't look it, but anyway, I think it's a very easy thing to blame social media for what is really the fault of just the media and the education system. And I think it's a cope from people, from right wingers, when they blame social media for the failings, for them failing to gatekeep academia and the education system. That's what I think it is.
It is the education system. I just said it's accelerated by social media, because you said identity politics has existed in the West.
It existed since the 60s and 70s.
I think you could say even like, if you want to be even more widespread, you can say it's existed since the 1800s. If you count white identitarian politics
That's the
from the
thing.
Democrats. So
politics is always about identity, but it never mattered in countries where you had hugely homogenous populations. It only becomes a problem when you've got, complete schisms in society with, enclaves within, capital cities, first and second cities of, huge populations of people who have no identity with the, and I'm going to use the word, native population.
The thing is, I know people in real life who don't have that larger social media footprint, and they've been influenced by these ideas. So where are they getting it from?
Well, I mean, like we've seen it. I mean, like a good example is the news. Every time I turn on BBC at lunchtime,
so media, like I said, yeah.
I'm not, Mitch. I never said education and the mainstream media are in any way not contributing. I just said social media has accelerated the problem to wider. But the problem is because remember what I said. Journalists and such get their news, are in the ideological echo chamber of social media, and so when they go to create programs, whether it's on BBC or ITV, they bring the sort of Americanized identitarian politics with them, and that's where you have constant things on BBC like is the Church of England racist? Is my baby subconsciously racist? Is this subconsciously racist? I mean, is my dog subconsciously racist?
Your child is subconsciously racist. Sorry. Yeah. It's an evolutionary preference because we have a preference for in-group. Sorry. So, get over it.
That's why you have these sort of things. And it's... I do think social media has accelerated it, though. Because, I mean, I do wonder, if social media...
say it's accelerated it. I think it's just put it out in the public more. We're just seeing more of it because information travels faster. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're more connected.
Well, then it is accelerating it because
you see it in real time.
I know that journalists use Twitter to hunt for stories and talk to people.
Yeah.
It's accelerating it because you have those additional touch points, that constant exposure. If you've left university or whatever, you've left that education system, you're not going to be exposed to it. It's you're putting that, over time, as you live a normal life, you kind of get desensitized to it, and that's probably why so many older people are more likely to vote Tory, for example. But you don't have that now because now you have the media constant drip feeding, and it's not like it used to be where you had the news at 9 and you had like a daily paper or 2 daily papers, even one in the evening and one in the morning. It's all throughout the day because you go on LinkedIn and it's
every channel, every entertainment show.
It's pervasive. You can't even go on LinkedIn and not see it. I mean, there's companies I used to work for that have absolutely nothing to do with LGBT. They sell like wood or whatever, and there they are. It's Lesbian Visibility Week, so we've got a story about lesbians, and it's like, you meant to just sell wood. No one. Why would anyone care whether you've got a lesbian working for you?
And it's like in your workplace when you send emails. Like in my workplace, I'm seeing now, like especially my sort of corporate bosses, they send like in the emails he, him, or she, her. I mean that's like where did that come from? And then when George Floyd died of overdose a year ago. We had a letter going round basically where the company was stating its position on the death of George Floyd, and when I got the email come through, I was like, "Oh, is my company going to be based to say that?" No, of course not. It was basically we're aware of the racial tensions and everything, and that's why we stand against police brutality. And we stand against racial discrimination.
Metaphorically, and painting the lamb of the blood of the lamb across the door.
Yeah, but basically, bearing in mind we have.
Imagine if a company stood for police brutality.
I bet there is one out there.
Considering companies are private property owners, they ought to.
Well, I mean, it is the job of the police to be brutal, right? Otherwise, if they were going to ask nicely, they wouldn't exist.
This is again, Peter Hitchens identifies the difference between the police force and the police, as they were traditionally, and the modern police service.
Yeah.
There's a reason they were called force in the past because they were a force.
Well, they're not militarized, but they are they have a job to do, and it is to be brutal towards you. It's
to duff up
comply.
It's to duff up the elements of society that are, unwanted in society. That's the reality.
And if you don't pay your taxes.
Yeah. Anyway, dunking on Starmer. Okay,
yes.
so Starmer.
Oh my god!
So Starmer has been out and about, and he's been quite busy boy lately.
He looks quite cheerful.
He's got a pain expression behind his eyes. I can see the light leaving him.
So this is where he went to John Lewis to try and dab on Boris, because they refused to have anything to do with John Lewis, and obviously he was picking up some John Lewis wallpaper, and now obviously he's being photoshopped here holding a giant baseball bat by the looks of it.
Yeah, basically
some sort of kitchen implement.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I saw someone using one of them earlier to play the guitar. So
something that was used in Zulu, apparently.
What is that, like one of their arms or something?
Martini Henry.
Sir, I see them on the hillside. They look like they're waving their spears. Oh, wait a minute, that's not their spears.
I'm just looking at the comments. I'll have the tartan one, please.
Yeah, I'll have the tartan one. He didn't go to Ann Summers. He went to John Lewis and
He's not wearing his mask properly there.
He's not wearing his mask properly. What a Nazi.
The boxing match is so cringe. Because they've got the red and the blue gloves as well.
Yeah. So Keir Starmer, we got the local elections coming up next week. Got my election stream, which I'll see probably most of you there anyway. It's gonna be a good fun time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have no idea what's going on, so I'll serve as the.
I just want Andy Burnham out, but I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of disappointment. So, but one thing that's really funny to see is that Keir Starmer, because there has been. One would think there have been several political stories lately around Boris, which you could think he could capitalise on, but for some reason, if the polling is correct, he is not capitalising on enough in any sort of meaningful way. So, of course, the story that's been going around that I haven't been able to cover was that Boris there's been a lot of controversy about funding for renovations to his Downing Street flat. Where the money's come from, and all that.
So who fucking cares?
I mean, this.
We've got a country where the two mainstream parties agree on so much that they have to argue about the color, like the funding for someone's curtains. Like, who gives a shit? Well, honestly, I'd pay more taxes to see the boxing match between Keir and Boris.
Well, to be honest, I would say
I reckon Boris would fucking kill him.
He would level him.
Yeah,
absolutely annihilate him.
What, like he did that kid in rugby?
Yeah.
Or was it? No, it was football. Actually.
No, it was rugby.
It was rugby. It was touch rugby. It was the idea. It was just touch rugby, and then suddenly Boris just went into beast mode and just tackled the Asian kid.
I think didn't he trip or something?
No, he said he tripped. If you look at the clip,
I tripped.
Oh, was he just racially abusing someone? Was it?
Yeah, basically.
I missed the Boris of 10 years ago.
Yeah, London Mayor Boris was the best Boris.
Yes.
Yeah.
A rare Boris in the wild.
I think really, I mean, you can say London Mayor Boris was the best Boris. I think. Again, it was against a backdrop of Ken Livingstone. It wasn't like he was particularly.
Yeah, okay, he was front and center on like gay pride parades and stuff, but it's fucking London.
I mean, it was known at the time when he was running for leadership that effectively the top two contenders in the party were very, very like wet. Candidate or Boris, the Liberal.
Was it Jeremy Hunt and Boris at the end?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was either that or Jeremy Hunt, and I actually did get to speak to Jeremy Hunt for about 10 minutes at one of the
Jeremy Hunt might have been better at this point.
Yeah. It literally every time he met like councillors like us in the conference when we were talking to him, he just looked like a scared rabbit in headlights. It was really funny.
Who, Jeremy Hunt?
Yeah, Jeremy Hunt. Yeah, he really didn't know how to talk to people, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not voting for you." So, like you're. I mean, you're just standing there, look absolutely terrified, and he was using his wife massively as a prop throughout all our conversations, which was really disconcerting.
How embarrassing.
Like, was she fit?
No.
Well, she's Asian, so.
Wow, fucking racist.
Well, is she hot?
Yeah, that doesn't really narrow it down.
Well, she had like 3 kids, so for having 3 kids, yeah, I mean, I guess so.
So, like, basically, she's kind of like Jennifer Lopez, hot despite having like 2-3 kids.
She's got a better figure than Jennifer Lopez, I would say.
Are you saying she's thick?
No. She's really thin. After like, they think she has like 3 kids, but she looks like that she hasn't. That's what I'm saying.
Rate my MP's wife.
Right, MP's wife's top trumps when.
Never.
I am 100% suggesting that to Harry.
I
All
don't know.
I'll say is Boris definitely traded up, even if she's a mentalist.
Yes.
Well, this is the thing.
We traded up about 6 times over at this point.
We're going to have to talk about this. Boris's girlfriend, Carrie Simmons.
Oh, I can't stand her.
Can we please refer to her as Princess Nutnut? Because I definitely prefer that name.
Yeah, Empress Simmons
Of Saigon.
Yeah. No, I preferred Carrie Antoinette.
Carrie Antoinette. Okay.
Let them eat wallpaper.
She. What's the deal with her, guys? Because I think she.
I don't think she's a fucking CIA plant or whatever the people have been saying.
She's a disaster, and Boris is being led by his little head rather than his big one. But mind you, to be honest, I'm sure that probably wouldn't be much difference.
I mean, it's quite clear she's got an agenda within government. She was before she. I think it was before she was dating Boris, and she was with him.
Yeah, she was like a spin doctor, wasn't she?
She was spin doctor, and also she had like roles in various think tanks. A lot of it was green think tanks, from what I can see here. It was green think tanks, energy, that sort of stuff. I know there was accusations of her having ties with Extinction Rebellion. I can't actually see any. I know there was a lot of people that around her, like her friends, who had stuff with Extinction Rebellion, but not her directly. So I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But the thing though is, from what I can see, she also has relationships with the World Economic Forum as well. So everyone get on your tinfoil hats and let's go down this rabbit hole.
Will we be happy?
Well, you'd be eating bugs, so I don't know.
You're
you might
going
be
to have
happy.
nothing.
Burn the coal, pay the toll.
Yeah.
That's the whole new meaning to that, yeah.
Yeah. But even so, even with all of this going on in Boris's life, and I mean this sort of stuff, if you said to me a few years ago, I would say this would probably really damage him and damage the party. But
whatever, the public's memory, unless it comes to taking away milk from children or closing coal mines, seems to be incredibly short. And Boris is fortunate that he's managed to get Brexit done, whatever that means. And
I heard that Boris saved football.
He did
nothing. It was the market that decided.
No, Mitch, Boris saved football.
Yeah, Boris saved football. North FC, South FC, United.
The whole of the Premier League single-handedly.
Yeah.
He is also, he's also opening the country back up. I don't know who put us in lockdown, but Boris is the one opening it back up again, so that's all good.
Yeah.
So he's
I get your point. I get Paolo. Yes, I get your point now. Yeah, I can see.
No one's going to give a shit in a week.
Yeah.
No.
The pubs are open. Keir's getting kicked out of pubs. It's all wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, let's find that video because that one is entertaining.
I did a video on it. It's quite funny.
And
although the co-owner cooked out massively, but no, well, you know.
I thought the
Yeah.
co-owner had originally invited them or was given them permission.
No, the one that was moaning at him was not the one that invited him, as far as I know.
One that he's the landlord.
He is the landlord, but not the owner of the pub.
Yes.
No, I thought they were co-owners together, weren't they? That's what the media said.
So.
No.
The media said a lot of stuff about
I think, to be fair, the guy kicking off was actually being fairly violent.
Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't say he was being violent.
No, I mean before this video.
I saw one when he was shouting, but he wasn't actually. Didn't lay a hand on anyone.
If I had private security,
it was the security touching him.
If I had private security, and I would probably want him kept away from me.
But to be fair, that is his property, though. That guy's preventing him from going.
It's not his. It's not his. He doesn't own it.
That's the landlord, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's not the owner of the pub.
No, it's the pub landlord.
Yeah,
not as in the owner of the building.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's it's his. He has access to it, as a right of access to it. Then
I mean, he's basically under license, isn't he? It doesn't belong to him. He's just operating it on behalf of the owner.
Yeah.
So it's not his. To be fair, he's a bad man.
I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him.
That's his property as well that he's trying to debar him from.
Get out of my pub! Go on. Get out of my pub!
Yeah, it's quite hard for Starmer to kind of not look like a cat that's just fallen off the sofa.
Yeah. And
I meant to do that. I'm not entirely fixed with that at all.
That restaurant
behind it.
He called him a fucking COVID denier as well.
Yeah, that was
he did. Yeah.
He didn't deny it. He didn't deny it.
He didn't deny it. He just denied the reasons for lockdowns. Based on statistical information. I saw that. He said, "Oh, well, he obviously this guy doesn't believe in that COVID is real, and he's a massive, believes it's a hoax and conspiracy theorist." Like, Keir, he didn't say that, but obviously, whatever sells for Keir to win him some points over from that, because that was really bad from a campaign perspective, because the whole news cycle for that day was Keir being stormed. He was forced out this pub in
but is it bacon sandwich bad or Theresa May eating a cone of chips bad?
I think this was worse. I think this was worse because Miliband can't eat a sandwich, and Theresa May was cringe. Everyone knew that. Everyone knew they were a bit weird and quirky. But when you have members of the public and that sort of level of cringe, and then awkwardness from Starmer, it was, people were talking about it. People were just sort of memeing it and everything else for.
Why can't we have PMs that have led men in battle anymore?
I want a PM who's at least on the bridge of a battleship and shelled something.
Why do we have to have people whose sum total contribution to life is writing a few articles in a bargain basement paper that no one cares about?
Yes. Well, he was the former head of CPS.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Sounds inspiring.
To be
He
fair,
let a lot of cops get away with literal murder, or at the very least manslaughter.
I'm sure, yeah.
He did. I think that Brazilian guy got shot during 7/7. He failed to prosecute the officers for that.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Sadiq Khan, who's currently somewhat responsible for the Met Police. The soliciting company that he worked for, when he worked for them in his role, basically holding police to account, they took $1.3 million from the taxpayer and sued 328 different police officers.
That sounds like money going round in circles.
All I'm saying is, if I was a police officer, I wouldn't be voting for Sadiq Khan.
Have you seen the latest thing that Sadiq's put out? It's basically, women, I understand your menopause issues.
Yeah, remember, there's literally nothing wrong with nobody thinks it's a bad thing. In fact, people forget it's a thing if you think about it. Like, nobody looks at an old person and goes, "Oh, menopausal." Like, there's no stigma.
I don't understand why essential facts of life for half of the population are suddenly
well, we have ascended. We are no longer biological beings. We are ethereal spirits, and
I wish, to be honest.
No joke. One day you're going to have, like, someone say, "Men, I understand your ejaculation issues."
There is actual adverts for erectile dysfunction.
I've seen one where it's like a
prime minister,
a guy on the front of a magazine, and it's
I would never say there's a stigma. There's no stigma.
And the caption is like, "Oh, what would you want me to take a photograph for, mate?" And it's just the caption is like, "Problems with erectile dysfunction," and it's just this guy's like cringe face.
But the thing is, right? There's no stigma for any of those things. It's just embarrassing.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any stigma for menopause, though.
There isn't. I mean, I don't get it.
It's like men have to go for a prostate exam at some point in their life, but we don't have politicians standing up saying, "Men, we know how tough that is for you." It's just life. Everyone, experiences these things. No one's marginalised for them.
I am waiting for that one tweet from Sadiq Khan where he uses the sort of generic leftist term of we understand people who bleed, because London
has more than most.
Yeah, that would. I don't think he would do it because literally knife crime statistics will come chucking at him, and people will just be ripping into him for that. But yeah. Oh, what's the other one? I saw bodies that bleed. It's like
carboniferous life forms that bleed.
Yes, carnivorous life forms that bleed.
No, we're not fucking carbon based. We're ethereal spirits.
Okay, Scientologist.
Yep. Biology no longer means
Thetans represent Thetan pride worldwide.
Off the scale.
Oh, sorry, I'm just high as shits right now, so I'm just gonna.
All I'm saying is, guys, Thetan pride worldwide.
What's happened to Scientology? We haven't heard anything about them for a while.
It's still a fast-growing religion, right?
Tom Cruise has shut up for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, to be honest, I'd rather have a Scientologist caliphate than this at the moment.
At least they've got aliens.
Aliens. Oh God.
Imagine the ancient aliens guy as prime minister.
Yeah, boy, let's do it. At least he wants to build some cool monuments.
That'd be entertaining.
What do you mean? At least they've got aliens. We've got about 20 million of them living in the UK.
They haven't been counted yet.
They haven't been counted.
You don't know that.
You don't know me.
You'll never know the full number.
No.
Well, no, because most of them can't fill in a census.
Yeah.
I wonder how strictly they're going to prosecute that, because there's got to be a lot of people who haven't done it this time around. It's
impossible now. How could you prosecute it? You'd have to know that people were not doing it in the first place, and you've got unknown numbers of illegal immigrants here.
Yeah, I'm sure if my granny didn't do it, they'd fucking arrest her.
You literally, we are fortunate to live in part of the world where you could literally have immigration down to almost nothing, because they've got to cross a sea to get here.
Yeah.
And yet, we just welcome them in. We go and collect them halfway across, and
well, yeah. I mean, it, and the argument of that. The argument that's been negated is, if you're a genuine fleeing war and you're a refugee, you're meant to come to the safest country that you find.
Oh, and God, then, well, if France goes into a civil war, then we may actually have a reasonable claim for that.
Yeah, so maybe it's best not to. But you and then if you want to come to UK, you apply while you're there at the safe country, and they're not doing that.
The only refugees we should ever have are French or Icelandic.
I won't have the French here.
I think
Even that's pushing it.
The Huguenots was a slippery slope when it comes to immigration.
No, they're all right because they're not Catholic.
But they're French, though. They're still French.
Yeah, but they're not Catholic, so it's okay. They're a halfway house.
The road to hell is paved.
Weren't there a few like English philosophers or like famous people who were of Huguenot descent? Like
It's not worth it.
Who cares? Thomas Sowell is black. It doesn't mean there isn't the 1350 meme.
Yeah, but have you ever heard of a Huguenot cause an issue?
What? Did you ever hear of a first-generation West Indies man causing an issue?
Maybe.
No, I doubt it. Because they wanted to be here.
Obviously,
they
I know
they
that.
knew what they were leaving, and they were coming to a better place. And for the opportunity.
Well, I've known. There's a documentary on the BBC. This guy definitely was technically first generation, even though he was a baby coming over. But that guy did not want to be here. He pretty much grew up here.
Well, this is where Powell was suggesting that people that don't want to be here should be helped to leave if they don't.
He could. He had the money. He never did.
Well, then he's an idiot.
He sent
just like the rest of them.
He sent his kid over to Jamaica and his wife so that he could be educated, but he never went with them for some reason.
Well, his real preference says he didn't want to leave, and he must have liked it here. Otherwise, he would have left.
We always constantly complained about how racist it is, but then was also completely anti-political correctness. It's kind of like Sol Campbell, goes on about all this crap, but then it also goes story.
I've got friends who do that. It's just my head.
Apparently,
Jules, I don't know if you've noticed, but Eno2's flirting with you in the chat again.
Calling me fucking Scottish. I don't agree with this.
You absolute fucking Scotland man.
The great Clan McRae is my secondary title. The House of Wessex.
Absolutely haram.
Any haggis?
Apparently, the DuPont family who invented Teflon were of Huguenot descent.
Okay.
Warren Buffett.
We'll allow the French to have Teflon on Warren Buffett.
Or do you mean buffet?
Warren Buffet.
Buffet. Oh shit! He's still kicking, Warren Buffett. He's 90. I thought he was.
Yeah.
You cannot.
I think he's still pumping out books. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You cannot use one or two individuals as a marker for the whole. It's a ludicrous thing. Again, it's the whole Thomas Sowell is my base black American, but yeah, don't forget the 1350.
Well, I didn't say that he was representative of everybody.
I didn't say he did, but it's like that's the kind of facile argument that's used. Oh, what about?
But to be fair, the people who
we'd have
commit
never had Thomas
1350 are not.
Sowell. We'd have never had.
Even the people who commit the 1350 are a tiny minority of a minority.
I don't care. We wouldn't have any of that problem.
Oh, so now we paint the exceptions as the rule.
No.
Well, you just told me not to do that. And now you don't care when it's pointed out it's a minority
There was
commit a crime.
a British officer during the American Revolution.
If
John
half of the
Andre.
crimes are committed by 13% of the people, I'd rather be without the 13% of the people.
But it's not 13 people literally who are doing it.
I don't care.
Oh, so now it's okay to use the paint the exception as the rule. Okay.
I literally said you have to take it as a whole.
I have to take it as a whole. Okay. When it's your narrative that needs pushing. Okay.
That's been my entire argument all along.
Okay. That's not hypocritical.
How is it hypocritical?
Because you're painting it's an exception in a minority as the rule. That's what it is.
No, I'm saying that you have to take the whole into account, and the whole is 1350. The whole is that 15% of the crimes are committed by 13% of the population. You cannot use one example.
But can you quantify the bad stuff that Huguenots have done?
I don't care.
To be fair, I'm actually looking at Mitch. I'm looking at it. There were quite a few Huguenot Confederate generals and officers. So
interesting. Shouldn't they be based?
Well, this is the thing. A lot of them, moved on. You know,
It
people
depends
use,
what your point of view is. If you're a Democrat supporter, I guess.
people use Huguenots as the argument for immigration into the UK, but a lot of them moved on. They didn't actually settle here permanently.
Yeah, they went to America.
Yeah, a lot of them went to America, from what I can see. I mean, there's a lot of them in America and everything. I actually got John Andre, who he was a like a British spy for the spying on the Continental Army, and yeah, he was. I knew he was Huguenot actually. I just couldn't remember his last name. Andre.
Not Peter Andre, right? Oh, maybe he's a Huguenot. I'll give you that.
Right,
deportable. Okay, yeah, Huguenots are all. There's actually a lot of Afrikaans who are Huguenots as well. Got Alexander de Proux.
Can I just say that I've never met a nice South African?
I have. One of my managers at work is.
I don't think he got the. You didn't get the reference, did you?
No. What's the reference?
It's a thingy, spitting image.
I'm not a boomer, Mitch.
Oh come on, mate.
Not a boomer.
Nigel Farage.
Like Blackadder
is apparently a Huguenot as well.
What?
Nigel Farage is a Huguenot.
Oh, it does make sense.
His name is fucking Nigel Forage.
That is where his name, you know. I mean,
so really, it's Farage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nigel Farage.
Michel Farage.
George II.
I actually said hello to him once.
Did he ignore you?
I did.
I waved at him through my computer screen as well.
No, I was at a Turning Point dinner and he was there.
Oh my god, you were in Turning Point.
I wasn't in Turning Point. I went to their dinner.
Fuck me.
I was invited to go by somebody else, and I thought, why not?
Oh my god.
Okay, whatever. Wellington nonsense.
Mitch defriended.
Defriend me. I don't need this nonsense.
Friendship ended with Mitch.
Mind you, I think Dominique Samuels was there, but I don't know.
Is she a Huguenot as well?
No, she's a Caribbean.
She's not a Huguenot. No.
Most of the Caribbean people I've met have Spanish ancestry deep down somewhere.
Yeah,
of course. The Spanish have got their DNA in fucking everyone.
Well, we didn't take it from them, so.
Do you know who also was a Huguenot? Sarah Palin.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. She doesn't strike me as one with that name.
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
See, he has a Dutch name, doesn't he? Though Roosevelt, right?
Roosevelt.
It sounds Dutch, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Biden.
I
thought he was Irish.
He is a little bit, but he's not like.
His paternal grandmother was a Huguenot of Huguenot descent.
Bruh.
Oh, whatever. Fucking one drop rule.
Okay,
I bet he's bloody Quebecois as well, isn't he?
He's whatever he needs to be at the time.
So what have we learnt?
Like Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
Didn't AOC claim to be Jewish or something? That's where I saw that.
Well, I mean, it's not beyond the realms of impossibility, but I don't.
I'm Jewish.
AOC is cringe, and so she's.
But she's got a lot of connections. She's got a lot of connections, and where she is, whatever community is, they will keep voting for her.
Yes.
Even when she takes jobs away from them, literally, when Amazon wanted to create any headquarters there.
That was funny. There's people like saying on Twitter, "Why aren't you doing anything about it?" AOC like prop on like Democrat supporters, and it was like radio silence
because she fucking hates you, working class scum.
It's pronounced Huguenot. Huguenot.
No, this is English.
It's Huguenot, eh?
It's Huguenot.
Huguenots.
Huguenot, more like Huguenot.
It's got a
Hugo-homos.
It's got a T in it, so we pronounce the T because
Homo.
Fucking
homos. French homos. Okay, we get it.
That is, in Old English you would.
But as the based proddy, all proddies are my allies, you know.
Yeah. We should have moved them to Ireland, to be honest. They
would have done a good job against the Catholics.
But just
imagine that anger.
Plant them on the border wall.
Put the anger to good use.
In a way, we've missed an opportunity with Ireland in terms of having it like Australia.
It was at one point, wasn't it?
I mean, it's still
not really. I mean, they have plantations and stuff there, but
Well, the only proper plantations in Ireland was Ulster. Hence why, Ulster is Ulster.
Well, we used to send. Well, people went there to settle. I guess
Scots especially, but
we
nobody
used
ever
to
says that.
send the indentured servitude and like the deportation or transportation to America more.
Mhm.
Mitch, are you saying the Scots participated in the British Empire?
Yes, and they were the ones who were colonizing the most out of everybody.
Yeah, people don't realise that. The Scots, like Scottish.
Well, they were settling Ireland before Britain was even a thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like literally, when it came to the Opium Wars and getting China hooked on it, the worst offenders, the worst companies out of Bombay and Calcutta and Bengal and Hong Kong as well were the Scottish-owned companies. They were the worst, absolute
Don't know
worst.
what you mean. Subjugate your enemies by any means.
But by worst, you mean most effective, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Bruh.
Prots are weak. Eject.
Okay, Catholic, whatever. All the worst countries are Catholic. All the shitholes are of Catholic descent.
Argentina is Catholic, so there is evidence to suggest that might be true.
Thatcher should have nuked Buenos Aires.
As Hayek said, we had the right to invade.
Yes.
Thank you, Hayek.
It's true, he did say that.
Yeah. Well, fuck it, they invaded us. Of course we had.
Of course we did. Yeah.
Technically,
we did. The SAS went in to blow up some planes, so we did invade them. Technically,
we should have turned them into a colony.
Yeah.
Well, they were at one point an informal one.
That's
Wales. Why there's loads of Welsh. Yeah, that's why there's loads of bloody Welsh people around.
Yeah.
In Patagonia.
Yeah.
We should have just sent all of them there. We should have sent Owain there. He'd be happy.
We could do like clones of Owines to like populate it.
Dear God, that sounds like one of Cringe's doomsday plans.
Didn't you know that Henry VIII, who was born in London, well, wherever near London, was Welsh, but his granddad Henry VI was not. Well, okay, not granddad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because remember, only the best are Welsh, the worst are English.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The Welsh built the pyramids. That's what I heard as well.
I heard they built the wonders of the ancient world as well as that. So, like,
the first man on the moon was Welsh.
Did you know that Aristotle was a Welshman?
Did you know the alien that crash landed at Roswell spoke Welsh?
I did not know.
It does sound like an alien language.
Was he at Rockstrift, even though at the time it was an English regiment?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember watching Zulu with my dad, and I asked him, "Oh, what did you think of it?" And he said, "Oh, it was a bit racist." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, they were all the Welshmen were all choir singers.
Everybody sung in the army back then, though, right?
Yeah, they all had regimental choirs. Yeah.
Apparently, they were also meant to have facial hair as a compulsory uniform or something. That's what QI said. But if you're a man, you can't do a full mustache or beard.
You're obviously not army material. Then
the thing is, like, you do forget that there were like drummer boys in the military, so I don't know how they would have.
Obviously, it would have to be enlisted men, not a drummer boy.
Yeah, I was going to say you couldn't say it's drummer boys. Why haven't you got a beard and mustache?
And female auxiliaries, obviously, like the cooks and the sewers and stuff, they wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
you know.
That camp followers
I'm
have to have a
12
beard.
years old. That's no excuse.
The British Army, we were more clean shaven, wasn't it? More the officers that had.
No, it was the British Army. It was very hairy, especially after Crimea.
Yeah, the Crimean. If you see the pictures of the guys in the Crimean War with the bearskin hats and the massive beards.
If you look at India during like the 1880s, 1890s of like just pictures, every single British officer and even just soldier, even like the Indian, like Hindu sepoys and such, they all have beards and mustaches in the
Sikhs, especially, like
the Sikhs, yeah, proper like real fuck off beards. Yeah, it was a real thing. It was like a sort of
until the mid-19th century, facial hair was unusual in the British Army, except for the infantry pioneers, who traditionally grew beards. A small minority of officers wore mustaches. During the 1800s, the attitude to facial hair changed as a result of the Indian and Asian Wars. So I guess once they started assimilating sort of Middle Eastern and Indian cultures, who were a fan of facial hair, I guess that's when the change sort of happened. But yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
they were
prior to
great
that-
beards. Come on.
The trouble is, there was a big problem because we're going to finish up in a minute. But one of the biggest problems that they had was lice. That was always a problem in the British Army. Lice.
What's the problem in any
Scratch,
kind of
scratch.
culture?
So
Yes.
well,
I'm sure the Sikhs had a time with that.
yes. So yeah, maybe,
Scratch,
and also
scratch,
like
scratch.
if you think about it, like with World War One, like gas and everything, you couldn't have wear a gas mask.
Yeah, that's what
That's true,
changed it. Yeah,
That's
although
true,
they still
yeah.
had mustaches though, didn't they?
Yes, and that was the only hair they were allowed since 1960.
But you notice a lot of the American GIs have beards nowadays. When you look at a lot of stuff coming out from Afghanistan,
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, now you mention it.
especially special forces. Because when I first saw that in the film,
Is that more
the
of a
one when-
propaganda thing? Like a
I
No,
think
no.
it's to blend in with the local like
Maybe.
Afghans. A lot of the Afghan men have similar beards. I think it.
No,
I
no,
think
they
it's
just have full beards. It's full proper hipster beards, not like as an
yeah,
Islamic beard. or
it
anything.
kind of feels like the sort of like American. I don't know what the word is.
Because I saw that in 0.30 and thought, oh, Bigelow's just done an error there, right? It's just an anachronism. No, apparently they do have beards.
It's kind of weird because like Davy Crockett, like the frontier people, I don't think he had a beard.
Possibly not. I mean, it depends on the time and era, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
I mean, the fucking Chads in the Crimean War, though, that you can't really get much better than that.
no.
I mean, beards
Right.
weren't really a thing in the 80s, as in 1980s, but they are now.
I mean,
Although
we
they had a lot of
don't-
mustaches back then, though, didn't they?
we don't listen to what happened in the 70s and 80s with regards to.
It was sideburns in the 70s
Sideburns.
and late 60s, wasn't it? Yeah.
I've got a sideburn at the moment.
I don't
Oh,
like
God.
sideburns.
I did have a mate at school who he used to like help his neighbor sort of maintain and drive a traction engine. And he went off to do a mechanical engineering at uni, and he did have like proper Isabel Kingdom Brunel style sideburns for a while.
Oh god, yeah, those are like literally growing out. at the
Yeah, and
side.
I was like, dude, that is a strong look, but Christ,
yeah,
driving his traction engine driving his traction engine with his massive sideburns was something else.
yeah. I couldn't have those because they're like whiskers or something. You know?
Yeah.
I just don't.
Right.
I don't like the look of him. Like I used to go to a barber who would always give me sideburns, and I hated it. I had to
Don't
shave them
like
off.
Why didn't you tell the barber you didn't like him?
That is literally.
Well, I
the job,
gave him
yeah.
the picture of what I wanted, and he would always leave them dead high. So I had to leave him eventually. I said, I want it like that, big sideburns. So.
Typical woman, don't resolve your problems, just leave.
Wow. Mitch
Well,
is
hey,
like-
ever since then they've been doing it exactly how I want them to. So
All right, guys. I think we'll call it a night now because I've sort of run out of.
Is there no one
Steam.
watching?
No, there's a few people watching. There's still 12 watching.
There's still 12 watching, yeah, but
You
we'll
guys
leave it
have
on.
that beard.
I mean, to us, we've talked about. I mean, obviously, like French and Starmer, so we sort of just talked. We talked about the main subject at hand.
We
Which
did have a bit of history autism in the middle as well about
L
feudalism.
for Starmer.
L for Starmer, and no doubt there'll be more L's because he's going to be going around the country next week, like the last bit. So there's going to be more fuck ups, so that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you have to feel sorry for Labour. They are literally at the point where they could just sit on their hands and watch
Do you know
the
what's really
Tories
sad?
stab themselves in the head. but
I don't feel
instead
sorry
they
for
keep-
them.
They
Do-
keep,
do-
it's like watching like a disabled animal just dying slowly.
But
Why are
what's
you
really
so
funny,
much more nicer than me?
but do you know what's really funny about Labour is there is a way for them to get out of this problem, and it's just get rid of Americanized identity politics. Just not do it.
Lol. As if that's ever going to happen.
No, they've got
I
too many
know.
connections. They've got too many connections. Too much money coming in from America and China that they
Yeah.
can't get rid of it so easily.
I know, but that's the funny thing. Like, if you wanted to not, I mean, this is the thing. When it comes to
Can
this
you
local
imagine that
elections,
there was
I predict that they're going to do well in. They're going to do well in Manchester. They're going to do well in Birmingham and Luton, and they're going to do extremely well in London. And that's
where there are
prob-
large Pakistani communities.
yeah, where you have a lot of diverse bits. I did about Wales. It does look like that they may lose seats in Wales in the Welsh Assembly. In Scotland, I don't know how that. They're probably not going to do well at all. So we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, Labour is sort of it's similar. I was going to say this. It's similar with the Democrats in America. They've become centralized in because it used to be if you look at like elections back in. I was actually going to look at them like state elections back in the 80s and 90s. The Democrats used to do very well in rural white areas, like not just like in the southern states, but like in the Midwest, places like that. They used to do very well, especially under Reagan. They used to win big in governorships and senatorial seats, and they would dominate like entire counties and states. And now, if you look at them, they only do well in effectively 4 counties, which is Minnesota, Minneapolis, Atlanta, Manhattan in New York, and Pittsburgh and Philly. They're the only places where you see them do extremely well. But as time has progressed on, those counties that Obama won, are now staunchly Republican. And I think one of their strategists, because I saw it on Lotus Eaters, he in an interview he did with, I think it was Vox, he sort of referenced that, saying that you as time progresses, you can't solely rely on these sort of coastal urban cities for your voter base.
They got 81 million, so
yeah, but dead Confederate soldiers don't count. I'm joking. That's not real. No,
you're gonna fall foul of the algorithm. Biden is
you're not even going to get to 300 subs.
Biden is the legitimate winner of 81 million votes, as determined by the American people who accepted the result.
Yeah, he got unquestionably 81. Or is it 82 million? Did he ever finish counting it?
Say 100. It's 100 million. He got 100 million votes.
Well, regardless, he's definitely the president America deserves.
Yeah, he's definitely the president. He got 80 billion votes, and he is the most popular president.
Everyone who has ever lived voted
for Biden. Did you know that?
Yeah, I voted. I voted 3 times for Biden.
Oh my god!
Wow. Okay, pal. Let's not go there. Because that's what happened. That's why I got the community strike last time.
Wow.
Right. Okay. So, thank you all for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll probably see you next week for the election stream, and I'll do some promotion between now and then just to get the hype train going for that. But until then, I'll see you all guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.